Well, hello and good evening. Welcome to Sports Today. We are obviously here to discuss Euro 2020. There are some matches lined up, and of course, Wales and Switzerland are currently held up at 1-all. The two teams are right now battling for supremacy in that game. Of course, Switzerland have been the more dominant team. They've obviously had possession. Wales, the dogs in this group, they are 1-1 at this stage with Wales and Switzerland. And of course, as the title of the show suggests, we'll talk about Russia. Remember their impressive showing in the 2018 World Cup and how they really reached the quarterfinals and what how their fortunes have changed over the last 2 or 3 years, and now how what sort of impact will they make in the 20 in Euro 2020 when they take on Belgium. That's their opening game of the tournament. But before I head over to the football, before I talk to my guests tonight, Chinmay, Roy, and Akshay Ramesh, quick update from the world of cricket. We remember I came to you live a few hours back at 1 in the afternoon talking about Shakib Al Hasan's behavior. It was like appalling, right? It's caught everybody by surprise. A cricketer of his stature kicking the stumps away. He ripped the stumps and then tried to spear it in close to the umpire's leg. That was an ungainly sight. Well, he has now been penalized. He's been suspended for 3 games from the Dhaka Premier League, and he has been imposed a hefty fine as well of 5 lakh Bangladeshi taka. So that's the update from Bangladesh as far as Shakib Al Hasan is concerned. Really unfortunate role model for so many around the world, so many Bangladeshi fans, and that wasn't to be expected. He did come up with a statement defending his actions. Well, not quite defending it. He sort of apologized and said hopefully he won't do it again. And his wife later also tried to give a context to his behavior. A lot of there were some fans from Bangladesh as well. To be honest with you, when I did that show earlier in the afternoon, there were some fans who kind of tried to figure out what went wrong, what ticked Shakib Al Hasan off. Well, that's that from the Shakib Al Hasan update. But I have with me Chinmay, very familiar face in sports today. Akshay Ramesh, of course, he does a lot of back end work from around all the shows that you watch, his research, etc., and his coordination with Trisha. We're here to discuss football. We've obviously done so much. We've been building up to the Euro 2020. Chinmay, can I
Yes,
ask? Is that your just try and mute your microphone for a while? There's maybe you're getting a lot of messages from across. Just
all right.
get that
Okay,
across to
so
Chinmay.
yeah,
Yes. Chinmay, I'll start with you. You've
right.
spent so many years with your fitness regimen. You're trying to train athletes. This is always very fascinating when it comes to football and elite sports. You look at that skill set, and you can't really always distinguish a lot between players at this level, at the stature. You tell me how much does fitness really affect, and how much does it weigh over talent, especially when you're looking at the top guns. You look at England, Belgium, Spain, France, Portugal. How important is fitness and sustained levels of fitness?
So it's a very good question. The thing is that in England, there has been a very thorough research on this, whether it's
Hmm.
going to be talent that will pull through the big six or whether it is a matter of fitness. Talent, of course, is always there. Just coming one point here, there is a great coach who said that if there are two guys standing, they are both equally fit, but one guy doesn't have any skill, then the fitness
Hmm.
doesn't matter. But if there are two guys of equal skill, then the fitter guy will obviously have an edge. So
Hmm.
here, the research in England it shows that among the 6 teams now, France, England, Spain, Belgium, Portugal, and Germany, the 6 leaders, they found
Hmm.
that Belgium has average. There's 26 players in a team, so
Hmm.
Belgium's average per player, I mean, on the park they played is only 2,360. Okay, Belgium now remember they're currently FIFA ranked 1. So they have spent average least amount of time on the park. They have got Tilesman who plays for Leicester City. He has logged on 4,000 some. Kevin De Bruyne close to 3,000. minutes, and also Romelu Lukaku. Now, except for these three, where we know that De Bruyne is currently injured, but he's going to come back and play. So they're saying that Belgium, apart from the talent, they have got fresh legs. So Roberto Martinez has got an edge. Now, coming to France, France has logged on 3,062 minutes on an average. And they have got this Karim Benzema. He has 4,000 something minutes for Real Madrid. And Kylian Mbappe also, Kylian Mbappe has logged on 3,700. Sorry, Benzema 3,800. But Benzema is coming back after 5 years. So in that regard, France 3082, not too bad. They're not too exhausted. They're looking at that they're coming out of all their leagues. So there is a consideration that they may be exhausted on that parameter we're saying. England is worst off. England average is 3,300. So they're around about 200 more. And their three prime players, like Rashford is struggling. We have all heard. Harry Maguire and then this Mason Mount. They're all overworked. Germany has a shorter league, right? The Bundesliga. So Germany is 2,900 odd minutes, except for Hummel and all. They're mostly fresh, right? In case of Portugal, the fact is it's an extremity, matter of extremity. They have an average of 3,000 minutes, where Cristiano Ronaldo at the age of 36, he has played around about 3,700 minutes on the park. Bruno Fernandes, one of the leading for them, 4,330 exhausted, and Robin Diaz. So it seems that Portugal, and you could remember that Ronaldo at the age of 36. So the things that the research finds out is that, and consider there will be 5 substitutes. That's one good thing. So they're saying that Belgium has a head start should they be able to transform their talent. Because you see, Eden Hazard, their key player, 835 minutes only he has played because of injury and all. And Hazard always plays well for the country, right? They didn't do. So this is the case scenario now, as it seems that of the big 6, Belgium, Germany, and France seems to be fresher legs, whereas England, Portugal, right, and Spain, of course, they are a little bit wary, it seems, tired legs.
No, that's you made a very very interesting point, Chinmoy. And probably you'll also see a lot of that impact teams across from the tournament. And tell me also this. I just want to link whatever you said about all the minutes that they've spent on the field. I want to now link this to the format, Chinmoy. We
Yeah,
discussed this yesterday. The top three, the top two, how the top two reach the round of 16, and the best 4 teams who
right.
have placed third from respective groups will
Certainly.
also reach up there. So how is that going to, how do you think now linking up to from what you've said? How do you think that could impact some of the players from some of the teams from Portugal, maybe looking at Spain? How is it going to impact those players?
Yeah, right. The thing is that those players who are overworked, they have got tired legs. Obviously, the more they play, the more going to get weary. Where the fresher legs, taking into mind that there are 5 substitute, one has to understand that the more you play, more weary you get, more tired you get. But that's not the be all and end all. We have seen in the past that tired teams that apparently they have played more. There are 2 ways they're saying it can be a double-edged sword. For example, Belgium players are little undercooked. Some of them have not played that much, and whereas in case of England and in case of England and in case of Spain and Portugal, they have played more. Now, like cricket, some of them they say that if you play more, you are in form. Okay, the more you
Mm.
play, you're in form. And sometimes they said, we are wary. So the experts saying that the more the game progresses, for example, as you said, from the group league going into the knockout phases, the more you play. Or some teams, for example, I tell you for Belgium, they have not played that much. So they might play more and gather momentum and start doing well, right? And for the other teams, for example, England, they'll start off well, but as the match progresses, they might feel the heat because they have logged on more time in the park in the Premier League.
Right, right.
Right,
And that's something that the teams will be
right,
obviously wary of, and they'd obviously, I'm sure to an extent, they'd want to keep track of
right,
how they perform for the course of this tournament. And that's the
right.
that's the that's the beauty of this format as well, right? 24 teams
Yeah,
across 11 seasons. and this and see how these teams progress. Akshay, but also
See, if
the
I can
other part.
add to that, yeah, if
Yeah.
I can add to that, this format also gives teams like Belgium time. They have players who are coming into the fixtures
Yeah.
with not full fitness, but they
Mm,
just have to win a couple of games in 3 games that they're going to play. So
mm,
they will be not willing to risk their stars at the start and maybe have them for the
mm.
knockout and all that. So this
Yeah.
format is actually helping teams, after coming from a really, really packed domestic season.
No, and that is for sure. That's a good point as well. It's going to help a lot of these teams because it is sort of spread out like that, right? So it will help
Yeah.
those teams in that way. So Shubhobrata Mukherjee already has a comment, and he says Russia will be missing the services of Akinfeev in goal, of course, as will
Yeah.
Belgium with Kevin De Bruyne and Eden Hazard. So that's sort of, I don't know, that's really balancing it out, but that will kind of make it more interesting for Russia. Akshay, before we come into their performance
Yeah.
in the 2018 World Cup and what sort of impact they can make in the Euro 2020 now.
Raj, talking about, there's something in cricket we call a second season syndrome. You've seen a lot of players like, even when you see Rishabh Pant, he had a very good start to his international career, but then
Mm.
he had a dip in the second season. So Russia are facing a similar situation. They had a dreamy World Cup in front of their home fans. They were just making things work, and they knocked out Spain. And Chershov has a little bit of a he is coming under a little bit of pressure now. At the 2018 World Cup, not many people expected a lot from Russia, but now they're going to play two of their three home games in front of two of the three group games in front of their home fans. So
Mm.
that will ease them a bit, but again, they are going to be under pressure. So unlike last time, fans are not going to be like, okay, let's take a third place finish, but they are going to be they are going to be facing pressure. But and then they are having a group which is not the toughest, but still one of the toughest. They are facing Belgium tonight, and it's gonna be interesting to watch how Russia go through. They haven't had a great lead up in the great run up into the tournament because they were winless for 6 matches in 2020,
Mm.
but they picked up a win in the lead up to the tournament. But their Euro qualifying campaign should give them a lot of confidence. They won 6 out of their 8 matches, and they finished just below Belgium. I am expecting them to qualify to qualify for the knockouts, but from there on, it'll be a little tougher. There is pressure on them. It depends on how they deal with that. And they are a changed side also. A lot of their legends, including Kinfov, have retired after the World Cup campaign. So they will be under pressure. Let's see how they go. I expect a lot of things from them because they're playing two of their group games at home. So that should hold them in good stead. Let's see how they do from here on.
And it's also interesting to see that Belgium will start off the Euro 2020 campaign at the city where their hopes for the 2018 World Cup sort of came crashing down. Akshay, we all remember that game against
Yeah.
France, and it was Belgium. They looked impressive. Obviously
Yeah.
they've always had that star power, but now and De Bruyne's absence would be probably one of
Hmm.
the least of the Belgium camp's concerns because they've been hit with this sudden onslaught of injuries and setbacks. Tell me, Akshay, of covering football, how does this impact a team setting in tone, trying to set the tone for a tournament as big as the Euro?
So Eden Hazard, their captain, is also not 100% fit, but he might play today. He said yesterday that he's not 100% fit and he'll leave it to the manager to see on the game day. But Kevin De Bruyne's absence is going to be a big hit for them.
Hmm.
But I think Belgium as a side, they have so many superstars. They have so many players. They have Lukaku today, and opening against Russia in Saint Petersburg will give them a good chance. But once again, keep in mind that Russia are playing in front of their home, and the pressure of Russian fans. We have seen it in World Cup how vocal they can get. And Belgium coming in with a bit of injury concerns that might work in their favor, but that might not work in their favor. But Belgium have a point to prove. They are the number one team, and they haven't done so well in the big competitions like Euro and World Cup now. But this time they are the number one team, and they have a point to prove. And taking on Russia in their first match, Chima, do you think it's an advantage or a disadvantage?
See, for me, yes, I tell you, ever since that World Cup, Russia plunged really into crisis.
Yeah,
Now they were 70th in FIFA ranking. Now they are 30th. Now,
30.
see, yes, I get back to one. When I was playing football, we had a famous coach you all understand, passed away, PK Banerjee. PK
Yeah,
Banerjee, Pradeep Da, and Subhash Bhomik was my coach. So they at that time they used to frequently go to Moscow and play some matches and all. They used to say that Russia, that time it was under communist era, they have a sort of a traditional, very orthodox fashion of playing football, not the flashy like the way the
hmm,
tiki taka and all that. So they are really inside a sort of, I mean, limitation. You will see they will go to quarterfinals, then they will fade away. Okay. And so about Russia, I'm telling you, this time they have got Golovin and Miranchuk, the two guys who
yeah,
plays away from Russia. Because
hmm.
most of the other players, not most, other players, they're plying their trade, they're in the Russian league. Okay.
Lubo
Now
also.
for
Yeah,
them, yeah, for them, when PK Banerjee, they used to go there and say that, see, you don't get the flashy brand there. They will be playing a team game. They will be, you'll see that even the last World Cup, there will not be many
yeah,
stars in the team. Okay,
hmm,
like the other European countries, as you're talking about the Belgium, right? Belgium may be missing De Bruyne, but their bench strength is so good. Roberto Martinez has just blended the team, united the team in a way that even one or two man here and there, that's the greatest thing for any team because injury will come at any moment at the top level. But whether you have got a solid bench strength, that really defines a good team, which Belgium has. That's why they're consistently under Robert Martinez is not really flash in the pan. From 2018, they're holding on to the number one spot. You go through the FIFA ranking, so you can be once in a while suddenly come up and go down, but it's not happening. They're consistently holding on ahead of France, ahead of Brazil, right? So I think it will be a tough ask for Russia to save for them
hmm.
because they had a 5-0 drubbing against
Yeah,
Serbia coming from here, and they lost 1-4 in the European qualifier against the same Belgium team. They were thrashed 4-1, and there was a lot of backlash in Russia. The coaches and the
yeah.
players were under fire. So I think out and out it will be. I consider it a miracle if Russia pulls it through. The best Russia can do is a draw, but from my little knowledge, I can see that Belgium is winning this match.
No, and it's also important to, you talk about Belgium and you made a very important point, Chinmay. For the last 3 years, they've held on to that number one position.
Right, right,
Also reminds you of South Africa in the 1990s, right? They were right up top in the ICC ODI rankings. They were either number one, number two, and you'd reckon that, South Africa and Australia were probably the two best teams in the world, but South Africa always sort of it was crazy. It was choked. They choked in all
Chokers.
ICC events. There is chokers like the chokers tag, which the Proteas don't quite like all that much. But tell me, Chinmoy, before we also move to an interesting saga around that Wales game. How much longer do you think? How much time do you think some Kevin De Bruyne might take with his individual training program and for him to get to the field? What sort of time frame would Belgium be looking at? What do you think?
See, the Man City and Chelsea match, he went for a header. He was
Yeah.
right under the eyes and here cheekbone. So these guys are so tough nuts, and they are so passionate. Okay, they don't
Hmm.
want to miss for the country. Okay,
Hmm.
so that's the reason why, in spite of that, he went up and he was. I was reading the report. He was willing to play. He was willing to play, but such is the confidence level of the Belgium team. They think that better he takes one more game off, rest, and come back. And there is no doubt he's going to play, really. There is no doubt. These guys are tough cookies, I tell you. These guys, like what we watch Anil Kumble having that bandaged jaw in West Indies, Antigua, he came into goal. So these guys are made like that. He will come back and play. Now, had it been a knee injury, it's a hamstring issue, it will be very, very serious. But for an upper extremity injury, the only thing is that you might evade the headers and all these things. But I think these guys are absolutely tough. He's going to come back.
Right, and you'd hope so. You'd hope so because Belgium is such an entertaining package when you look at it from that side. It's you want them, you want teams, because here we watch as fans, and it's more so European football. You just like watching the flair from different teams and
Right,
the
right.
package that they bring in. Right, we were talking about Italy last night, Chinmoy, so that you'd want these teams to come out and do well and expect some fireworks through the course of the tournament. But Akshay, Rob Page had this very interesting statement to make before the Wales Switzerland game got underway. Uh, his regular boss Ryan Giggs is not around. Um, and sent a message of support. Of course, Ryan Giggs was arrested in November. Charges were set against him in April when he sort of had to hand over that position of Wales manager to
Yeah.
Rob Page. This sort of these things do make these things do make a statement, right? With a message of goodwill from Ryan Giggs, and we all know how close the players and the management are to Giggs in this particular setup for Wales.
It's kind of disheartening and disappointing to see what's happening with Ryan Giggs. We all followed him. He's a Manchester United great. He has won so many Premier League titles. He has won Champions League titles with them. But this stint has been clouded with controversy, and it's a good thing that he stepped aside and he didn't associate himself. His trial will start in next year only, in 2022. But he has stepped away and he has allowed Robert Page to take over the team. Robert Page was his assistant during the qualifying campaign and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's when Wales come into, if he had come in and when Wales had come in with Giggs at the helm, it would have taken, the focus would have been on Giggs and not been on what Wales are doing at the Euro Championships. And it's good thing that Page has had the experience of being the manager of the side after taking over from Giggs. And Page he said yesterday that he received a message from Giggs, and Page said a very important thing. At the end of the day, they are friends. They know each other very well, and he still cares for the team. Obviously, Giggs is going to sit at home and watch how Wales are doing, and he'll be hoping that Wales progress beyond the group stages and further into the knockout stages. But it's a sad thing that Giggs has been facing these charges of coercive behavior and abuse against his ex-partner. But I hope that will act as a motivation. And Robert Page is a good guy. He's not in the newspapers. He's not a flashy guy, but he knows how to get the job done. And I think he will work well with the team this year.
No, and also Chinmay, there was some very nice words from Rob Page when he was speaking before the match. He said, and by the way, this game has they've drawn 1-1 against Switzerland, so that's a result Wales will be pretty happy with. And of course, when Akshay was talking about Wales hoping to qualify for the round of 16, that'll be really high expectations because the bookies have really set them to finish at the bottom of the table. There was some nice words spoken before that game. He said, forget assistant manager, forget assistant coach. Ryan happens to be a good friend. He's a mate. And that's what sort of binds us together. Whatever's happening legally, whatever's happening with Ryan Giggs' assault charges on his ex-partner, that's separate. Obviously, the Crown Prosecution Services had placed those charges in April. He had to step aside. Not that he had any options, really. And he wasn't going to travel with the team to Europe for the Euro. How does this impact team psyche to an extension? Why, when you have that sort of bonding between what, if you typically call Ryan Giggs' boss and Robert Page's deputy?
See, first thing, it might sound a bit odd. I have found that Great Britain, they have got this history of creating. Paul Gascoigne, you talk about Paul Gascoigne not as a coach but as a player, right? For example, in cricket, this guy Ben Stokes had this issue. The Britain people picks up this controversial stuff, right? They have this habit of doing it. So you can go through even that legend, right? George Best, this tremendous guy, right? He had all these controversies going around. Now, as you say, before a premier tournament, if such thing flares up, I think they are professional footballers, right? They'll be able to handle it. This is my take. And Wales is not such a big team. See, if your team has got a lot of stalwarts, stuff like that, then such a thing creates a lot of things. But for an average team like Wales, right, I don't think that this is going to make much of a difference. This is my view, that it's not going to make much of a difference. So that's it.
Right then. Well, we'll have to wait and watch how they progress through the course of this tournament, and they'll be happy with this 1-1 draw against Switzerland to start off. But I think
they'll definitely take that 1 point because Switzerland were dominating in the first half,
right.
and they were They had plenty of chances and they missed chances. But I think Switzerland will be ruining their missed chances, and I think Wales will be happy with the draw.
They would definitely be. The Swiss were far more dominant throughout the course of this game, and like you rightly mentioned, it was the first half. They had far more ball possession. Wales would be the happier team going out with that 1 point from the draw.
Okay, can I add 1 point?
Yeah.
At times, it's been seen that these are a blessing in disguise. I don't know really. Was a Mourinho left, Solskjaer came in, he changed, transformed. Okay, it doesn't mean maybe this is a luck for them. It's a sort of harbinger that it comes in and Wales.
You never know, right? And that was the reason I went to you with that question, because you never know, right? It's unfortunate everything that Ryan Giggs is going through, and if he's actually guilty of everything, charges that have been pressed against him, law will take its due course. But you never know, and for the underdogs, because Wales would have come into the tournament with nothing to lose, right? And you never know what could stir them on and what you get to see. And we've seen in past tournaments, in the World Cups, in Euros, you've seen the underdogs really push hard. Don't forget Senegal. There were plenty of nobody had given them a chance, and look what they had done. So Kenya in the 2003 World Cup as well. So there's always so much to look forward to from the underdogs. But quickly before we go,
every tournament, as you said correctly, one team will spring a surprise. There has to be in every tournament, one team will come up from nowhere, and who knows who's that one this year.
Who knows? And of course, Denmark and Finland are also going to play tonight in 1 hour. The game will start in 1 hour, and after that much-awaited game between Belgium and Russia. So quickly before we go, would you guys want to take a punt on the scoreline for Belgium and Russia? Akshay, you start first.
Yeah.
2-0 in favor of Belgium.
Okay.
I was absolutely right. I will go 1-3-0. 3-0.
3-0. All right then. We'll then watch and see that, we probably have another high-scoring game after last night's victory for Italy over Turkey. And of course, this game between Wales and Switzerland finished in a draw, 1-1 draw. And like we said, Wales would be the happier team. You never know what could spur these underdogs on and what they can do. Nobody's giving them a chance, mind you. Nobody's giving them a chance. Months before the Euro started, this whole controversy against Ryan Giggs really picked up after he was arrested in November 2020. And now you have Mr. Page leading the charge for Wales off the pitch. The manager, he's a fine manager, he's a respected guy as well alongside Ryan Giggs. There's a lot of respect for Rob Page in that Wales camp. So we'll wait and watch. And of course, Russia as well. Can't call them a real underdogs, but you want to see what they do against the best football team in the world. And that game, of course, starts at 12:30 a.m. India time. Akshay will join you at 10 o'clock in the morning to summarize these games for you. And Chinmay and I and Akshay will obviously come back to you again at 8 p.m. tomorrow to bring you the lowdown of Euro 2020 on Mega Sunday. Thank you so much for joining us. Do have a safe weekend. Stay home and keep watching sports today. There'll be plenty of action. I've already told you the exclusive interviews lined up. You would have watched Boria's interview with David Warner earlier in the evening at 5 o'clock. You can go back to Sports Today, watch that. You can watch his interview with Brendan McCullum, Dinesh Karthik, who is in England for his commentary stint, as well as Mithali Raj, and of course that really heartwarming interview with Veda Krishnamurthy. And in a couple of days, you will get to see Boria in conversation with VVS Lakshman on Sports Today. Thank you so much for joining us. And please subscribe to Sports Today. Please keep supporting us. Thank you so much. Have a good night.